Hello and welcome back to After Class with Evan and Aiden. After a long hiatus, everybody's favorite podcast is about to return. Joining us today, we have Mr. McLaughlin, our very own Comtech teacher, who is silently judging us as we set up our audio, and he's going to be on this podcast and probably also going to be grading it, because I guess this is our work, isn't it?
It's part of your assignment. That's your major project for right now.
Well, thanks for joining us, sir. So I guess we'll start off with the basic, teaching questions, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the simple stuff. Would you like to talk a little bit about the different classes you teach here?
Well, currently I teach all communications technology courses, so grade 9, 10, 11, 12. Comtech, it's called, not computer technology, but communications technology. People confuse those, but been teaching that for 7 years or so, I think it is, something like that. Prior to that, I was teaching French and phys ed for most of the previous 20-some years.
You still teach a little bit of French, don't you?
I did teach one class last semester. Yes, I did have one last semester. But we're growing in the Comtech department, so I'm teaching more of that and less of what I taught before.
Yeah, so Mr. McLaughlin may have to leave us at any time if his firefighter alarm, his superhero signal turns on.
Because you're also...
Yeah, the bat signal.
You're also a volunteer firefighter?
Yes. In Bradford, yes.
What's it like having to do that and teach kids?
It's awesome. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I work at the fire department right across the road from the school there. I got into it mostly because I injured my knee playing basketball, and it started to limit me in terms of my running. I was a competitive runner, and I couldn't run to the level I wanted to, so I wanted some other physical challenge, and thought I'd apply to be a firefighter and see if I could pass the fitness test. Here I am.
Just for the fitness test, eh?
Primarily, initially, because I didn't think they would hire somebody who was in their 40s at the time, but I passed the fitness test and passed the written test and the interview and took my DZ driver license and got all the qualifications, and here I am.
When you were in school, was it always the plan to be a teacher, or did you want to be a firefighter or something else?
I pretty much knew I wanted to be a teacher from early high school. I come from a family with a lot of teachers. Both my parents and many of my aunts and uncles were all in teaching, and I don't know, I kind of liked the life. We got to travel a lot as a family on holidays, and it was something I just was comfortable with. So yeah, I knew I wanted to be that. Firefighting was something that was never on the list of things to do in my career, but came up much later.
Yeah, I know you said you've been doing that for a while. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you even go to like training events, I guess, as a mentor for other firefighters.
Well, I've been doing it a while now, and I still have a lot to learn because there's always a different scenario every time you go out. No, I don't think anybody ever perfects firefighting, just like teaching. There's always a different student, a different class, whatever, but you get better. You learn a few things, and I've taken all my certification courses over the years. I'm a certified fire instructor now and fire officer, and have all my qualifications and certifications to instruct and teach, so I help out instructing some of the new firefighters when they come on board.
Wow. It sounds really hard.
Well, it's different than this. I guess it's kind of like teaching, right? It's instructing, but...
Yeah, well, I guess it's definitely a bit of a double life, especially, like we see you in class, the alarm goes off, it's past work hours, you just run across the street to get to the fire station.
It's a Clark Kent situation.
Yeah, he really throws on the jacket and he's out of there.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a retired firefighter from our department. He was one of our full-time captains, and he named me Clark because literally one time I ran across the street like you say, and it was after school sort of thing, and I took my sweater off because you don't want a heavy sweater underneath all that bunker gear, And
It would get really hot, I'm sure, in the burning house.
it can be very hot. And underneath the sweater I was taking off, I had one of those classic Superman t-shirts underneath. So
Wow, so it was perfect.
feeling it up, and
Running off to save the day.
from then on, he called me Clark.
Wow.
But
Wow, so I guess it fits.
well, only because of the t-shirt.
You mentioned as well, a lot of your family's in teaching. I know, like, that tradition has carried on because, okay, now I have to remember who's in your family. Two daughters?
We have 2 daughters, Carly and
At
Tori.
least one is a teacher because she's taught my class as a sub.
Yes. Tori, both my daughters and my son Jack go to the school. They're done. Jack is in grade 12, but Tori is a teacher, and she has supply taught here a few times. She's currently teaching at St. Joan of Arc in Barrie, though. So you won't see her back here now. She's teaching there at least till the end of the semester. So yeah, she's at least the 3rd generation of teachers in the family.
Yeah, I know Jack's thinking of going into that too. So
It's a possibility in his career path. Yeah.
yeah, and even your wife, Miss McLaughlin, she also teaches here.
She does. Yeah.
We might have her on one day.
You should get her on someday. She's got a lot to say.
Oh, I'm sure you can give us plenty to talk about.
I don't know if I should let you get her on, though. Maybe she might say things that I don't want her to say. But
You think there's anything very different about working with your wife in the same job with also your son as a student?
a lot of people ask about that, and I meet people all the time that say I could not work at the same place as my spouse because it would just be too much, But Mrs. McLaughlin and I get along really well, and to be honest, during the day we don't see each other very much at work. I mean, schedules just don't allow it, and so it's sure we work at the same place, but it's not like we're side by side, seeing each other all day long. Teaching my kids, in a bigger school where there are multiple teachers of French and Comtech and phys ed and stuff like that, it might be more possible to say schedule kids who aren't in their parents' classes. But this school, although it's growing, it's a small school, and there wasn't a lot of options. So I taught my kids French, and I've taught Jack Comtech,
But thankfully now you can get rid of him if you want.
I can toss him out the door now.
Like, I guess not Comtech.
Yeah.
That's just bad luck. French, you could drop him, but Comtech, you're stuck with him.
Yeah. No, he's. I think he's okay with having me as a teacher, but it can be.
There's got to be some benefits, like you don't have to worry about having 3 cars going different places in the morning. You only use 1 car if you
That's
want
true.
to.
That the family gets in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess your daughters, they went here as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess if they live in the area, they'd probably go here, right? Didn't really think that, but
Yeah. So
he's not your first time
no, I had both of my daughters in French class in grade 9,
in the same French class.
different classes, but they were not very good at French and did not continue with it past grade 9, despite the fact that we took them and spent summers in France and Switzerland and places where they could practice a lot of French. They didn't pick it up, but little Jack, who's 8 years younger, he picked it up very well, and he's quite good at languages and stuff like that. So he did an extended French program, and has continued with French. And I didn't teach him in high school, but he's good at French. The girls are not. On the other hand, they're not good at Comtech either. So I guess he's got 2 on him.
Yeah. So you got one of each, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Well, I've had them all for something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and like, is that not? There's obviously some different dynamic there than just teaching a regular student, right?
Yeah, I try to be as fair as I can to the way I treat him versus everybody else. But I don't know, there might be some unconscious.
I'd say it's pretty true. I would constantly forget that you were Jack's father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's good because it shouldn't be seen as, I mean, he calls me dad in class, but what else are you going to call me?
Yeah.
Jack's the only person who could ever get away with calling the teacher mom, and it wasn't.
Oh, he's so lucky.
He's so lucky. I feel like everybody has done that at least once. Jack actually, he might be able to get away with it.
That's one of the worst feelings.
It really is. That's what I mean. Jack is.
His immunity.
Well, I guess he went to elementary school, but I choose to believe he's never had to feel that.
I've seen kids call their female teacher's mom before.
I have done it several times.
Yeah.
Twice, I think.
And then think, Mom, I mean,
Can you remember the specific amount of times you ever called a teacher mom?
I think it was only one time, but it was so
It's
so front of my mind.
crushing mistake.
It's one of the worst things I've ever had to experience as a kid.
Yeah.
But also something that everybody goes through.
Yeah, it's happened many times.
Yeah.
Not to me, of course, but I've seen it. I've actually been in the room when somebody called their teacher.
You've never
mom.
been called mom?
Not that I recall, no.
Not dad, though. Besides by Jack.
You know what? No, I don't think so.
I feel like dad's a lot, like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it's a lot less likely.
yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
So there's something about like the teacher and mom role that's very similar that maybe makes it more common. I don't know.
It is sort of a motherly role, maybe, that they're playing, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, maybe just female teachers, especially in like elementary school when you do that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
I remember now when Tori and Carly were in grade 9, my daughters were in grade 9, and I had them in class, and it was the first time we had to have a little discussion, like, what are you going to call me? Do you want to call me Mr. McLaughlin or Sir? Like most kids call their male teachers Sir or whatever.
right.
And I think we tried it a couple of things where they would call me Mr. McLaughlin or Sir, and it just didn't work. And finally, it was just Dad, So,
That's really funny.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess you just work through it naturally, right? Like eventually it's just like, I guess it would feel really strange.
Yeah. Because we taught our daughters at our own school, we knew a lot of the students outside of school because they were friends of our daughters from before. So we kind of knew them in a role other than Mr. McLaughlin and the teacher or Mrs. McLaughlin the teacher. So the
Right.
kids wouldn't see it as that unusual for Tori to call me Dad or Carly to call me Dad because they'd been at our house before and I was Dad, right? So
Yeah, that's just,
not all the kids, but a lot of kids that were their friends would see it that way. So I guess it worked.
One of our previous guests, Mr. S.W.A.K, is a friend of your family's, right?
Yes.
He's told us stories making fun of you
Uh-huh.
lightheartedly.
first.
And I thought now this was finally your chance to get back at him, right?
Yeah, this is the tell-all on
Do
Mr.
you have any
Cebulski.
Mr. S.W.A.K stories you wanted to?
I had a couple
out there?
stories.
Amanda, before we start, roll the clip of Cebulski.
Yeah. So when Mr. Spolsky first started teaching here, we got to know each other and we both had a passion for running and long distance running, like marathons and stuff like that. And so we started to train together.
I think you mentioned you trained for a marathon together.
Yeah. And we did a lot of running together, sometimes in the dead of winter, 20 below out in the Holland Marsh, running for 2 or 3 hours at a time to train for marathons. I remember one time at a fitness club in town that doesn't exist anymore, the weather was blizzard-like and we couldn't run no matter what we wanted to outside. So we went and we ran on a treadmill in this gym for about 2.5 hours, side by side on the treadmill. And did our workouts there, and but we had a lot of good runs together. And I remember there were some school events where we did relay fundraisers out in the track with a bunch of students and so on. And Mr. Spolsky and I would try to run a 2-person relay versus the team of 6 kids or something like that. A lot of fun. But yeah, there was a particular a workout where we ran around the Holland Marsh and we were getting close to the end. We probably had only about 5K to go till the end. And Mr. Cebulski cramped up. And we were sort of out towards Bathurst Street area there and towards Newmarket, coming in off the marsh there.
So you're a ways out.
Like I said, probably another 5K to get home, something like that. So we'd already probably done about 25K or so at that time, and we had 5 to go. So we were close, but not quite there. And he had an issue with a cramp and I couldn't carry him.
Yeah.
So I left him in the ditch on the side of the road.
You put him out of his misery?
I said, stay here and I'll come back for you. Maybe.
He never went back.
That's so sad.
As far as I know, he's still there.
Yeah. Do we have to like? Did you mark the spot? Like.
Yeah, there's a big memorial stone there. Here lies Mr. Cebulski.
So it's all approved. I didn't know if the police were still searching for him.
But speaking of Cebulski and being left behind, we've done a lot of camping trips together over the years, and Mr. Cebulski always brings his dogs, and he has a little dog named Nessie, who's camped with us many times. But we sometimes go with Mr. McGregor as well, and we take the kids.
That seems to be like the partnership is you three.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we get him on the podcast, I'd like to ask him about it too.
Yeah, actually, we're going again very soon. But this one trip, I remember we were up. I believe it was Algonquin we were in, and during that one trip, we left Nessie on a portage once when we pulled away, and we had 3 canoes, and I guess everybody just assumed that poor little Nessie was in somebody else's canoe.
She just forgot the dog
just
on the
push
portage?
off and couldn't see Nessie. Nessie was in the bushes somewhere chasing the squirrel or whatever. And we paddle away, and because Nessie would sometimes ride in our canoe or another canoe or his whatever. So
yeah, there's always I thought
nobody noticed.
Right.
Nobody noticed, and we start paddling away, and then all of a sudden you hear barking from the shoreline. Oh, there's Nessie.
Okay. At least, yeah.
We hadn't.
Yeah, at least I noticed then. I was gonna say, 'cause if you had found her, like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about how upset Mr. Cebulski would have been. Be just like,
that was-
where's the dog?
That was one. And we had 2 vehicles on that trip. So on their way home then, we had stopped for food or gas at some place north of Barrie somewhere, and got out, got back in the car, drove away. Nessie wasn't in the car. Nessie wasn't in the other car either. Had to turn around and go back and get Nessie for the second time that trip.
Jeez, you would have thought Cebulski would keep track of his dog.
It's the same dog every time.
You're listening to this, Mr. Cebulski. Like,
Yeah, I don't know if
put a
Mrs.
bell on
Cebulski
her
knows this.
Oh no.
And then, so we went by Mr. McGregor's house, which was in Barrie, and we dropped him off. And we had a long trip out from that campsite, and we were trying to get home because it was Mother's Day Sunday, and we were trying to get back in time for dinner. So we were rushing around, and we stopped by McGregor's place to drop him off, and off we went. Mr. Cebulski was going to drop me and Jack off in Bradford, and then he was going to go home, because he lives south of here. We get about 10 minutes away or so from McGregor's house. Guess what? We left Nessie at McGregor's house. And so,
I mean, I guess better on the edge of some lake in the Canadian wilderness,
That's where I thought I was going. I was afraid.
or a campground. You're already on the highway.
as late as we were, as much trouble as we were being late for Mother's Day dinner, it would have been worse to show up without the dog. So we turned around, went back, got the dog. We were extremely late for Mother's Day dinner,
Oh no.
both of us, but at least we had the dog. So
Yeah, it's
in
got-
the end,
Something, right?
we kind of limited the damage by retrieving the dog, but it didn't go well. And that's not the only time Nessie's been left behind. That poor dog has been forgotten
Oh my god.
more than once. Well, it's not as bad as the time we lost the kids, but
Yeah.
that
How many times did you lose them? 3 times or less?
You don't have to disclose this if it's too much.
Which
well,
kid?
it's long enough ago. I think the statute of limitations on moms getting angry has passed.
You know?
'Cause, this is like, I don't know how many years ago. This is when Jack would have been maybe 9, if that.
It's like a decade ago almost.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe about 9 or so.
And your daughter's like,
The daughters weren't with us.
okay,
Just Jack
just Jack.
and Mr. Cebulski's kid, who's 2 years younger. and
Right.
one of Mr. McGregor's kids, who's another 2 or 3 years younger than Felix, so he might have been like 5.
So
So
all,
it's
all,
like
all the youngest kids.
Yeah, it was like a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
Well, I don't really blame them then. You know, they're small,
Yeah.
easy to lose. You just look right over them.
Well, they went off running around in the woods by the campsite, and we were making dinner and setting the fire, and all of a sudden we didn't see the kids, and we called the kids, and they didn't answer, and we lost the boys in the woods for, I don't know, half an hour, an hour,
Okay. Well, I mean,
you know.
were they hiding from you, or did they just get lost?
They were lost.
Okay.
They couldn't find their way back.
Because I could see that age, them just like hiding.
There was quite a few tears when we found them. They were a little scared.
Well, yeah, I guess I would just leave them in
Yeah.
the wilderness for half an
But
hour.
yeah, a good amount of ice cream on the way home ensured that moms never heard that story until maybe now.
That's a very good way to buy silence, I guess, right?
Ice cream goes a long way with little
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be good ice cream. It can just be like
Anything.
McDonald's soft serve.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's all you need.
Yep. Yep.
I like fun McDonald's soft serve.
I'm not making.
It has its moments. I'm not gonna say it's good ice cream.
It's good ice cream when Tyler serves it.
No,
he gives
it's,
you-
you are. It's late at night. You're hungry. You're a McDonald's soft serve, and your whole day is better because of that.
You have to put the fudge sauce on it though.
Exactly.
It's
Without the fudge sauce, I
very
don't
good
want
for its value, for sure. Like you can just go to McDonald's, and I don't know if it's still $1 if that's only in the summertime, but you can just go there. They like $1 ice cream cone. Like anybody can, you know what I mean? Like it's not too much money ever. If you're near McDonald's, you just grab an ice cream cone. It's like getting their drinks in the summer. But at the same time, I also wouldn't take it over any other ice cream,
No.
right?
Best ice cream in Bradford? 3 scoops.
It's also like the only ice cream in Bradford, isn't it?
I can't think of much else.
Well, other than soft serve,
That's why they do. That's why they do so well, because nobody else sells ice cream. They look a
they
monopoly.
would still be the best. Kawartha Dairy ice cream's awesome.
Well, Kawartha ice cream is pretty good, and they give you a lot of 3 scoops as well.
Yeah.
Like
Too much.
I don't know. Is that why it's called 3 scoops? Because it's like every scoop is supposed to be 3 scoops? Because I feel like if you ask for 1 scoop of ice cream, they just pack it in. I was really hungry one day, and I went to 3 scoops, and I got a 2 scoop of ice cream. And it was so much ice cream that my throat was hurting. It took me like an hour and a half to eat, and it never melted because it was so much like ice cream.
It is a lot of ice cream. Yeah.
It is a ridiculous amount of ice cream. I feel like they give you a small tub when you order it there. I don't know though. You'd think we'd have like at least some more, right? Like what rate Bradford's growing at.
They were supposed to build a Dairy Queen over by the Zares.
That's right.
And then apparently, the rumor is, I heard anyway, that they couldn't get approval for a drive-through in that area. Space-wise, it wasn't big enough or something. I don't know.
Was like the KFC already there? Because I feel like it was before the KFC show.
That's where the Starbucks was supposed to go.
Near the Starbucks, yeah, in that same area. And so they pulled out. They didn't build it because they couldn't do a drive-through.
Shame.
Other than ice cream, we had a conversation with Nitty about pizza. And he had some radical statements about, well, did he like mushrooms?
Oh, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure he didn't. But I want to hear your opinion on the best toppings and the best places to get pizza in Bradford.
You just had to bring up the mushrooms again. This is gonna be a multi-episode fight between you and me over mushrooms.
because I will fight until someone agrees with me that mushrooms are good on pizza.
I bet Mr. McLaughlin likes mushrooms.
I'll do mushrooms on pizza, sure. Like a Canadian style, pepperoni, bacon, mushrooms, that kind of stuff. But my go-to always is Hawaiian.
It's your
Love.
go-to?
Oh,
Well, thanks for joining us, Mr. McLaughlin.
Hawaiian.
At the end of the
Yes,
episode,
we
we'll be
just
ending
cut
this
right
early.
there's nothing better than Hawaiian pizza. It's the best. Bacon, pineapple, ham. Oh, love it. And it has to be a...
I don't even want to talk about the pizza because I don't want this to be the pizza podcast.
I know, because your mouth is watering too much
It's
when you
gonna be
hear
a
me say
fight
that.
about pizza every single time.
Yeah.
I feel like it's justified this time.
No,
So what's going on? They're talking about how good Hawaiian pizza is.
That's true.
it's not really an argument. Really, it's the best. So
I
there's
feel a
really
little
no,
disrespected.
no
On
debate.
show even.
Thick crust too. Has to be
Amanda,
thick.
censor out every single time he mentions anything about Hawaiian
crust
pizza.
Hawaiian
Just the word
pizza.
pineapple. Please censor it. Though, on a more less controversial.
There's nothing controversial about Hawaiian pizza.
We're talking about ice cream. What's your favorite ice cream? Because I know Jack loves Dairy Queen, and I think Dairy Queen's okay. I don't think it's like I really like Korth ice cream. I think Korth ice cream is pretty good, but he got really mad at me because I was talking to him about how much I like ice cream sandwiches. I said it was better than Dairy Queen.
No, you're gonna lose that battle.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm curious like what your favorite ice cream is, and if you're gonna go to like, do you like Dairy Queen? I guess everybody likes Dairy Queen, but do you like it like he does?
I do like it quite a bit. Jack and I just went there last week actually, and I get peanut butter parfait almost every time I go.
So you have like a locked-in order.
Yeah, I don't go that often, so when I go, I get what I want. If I went more frequently and I had, the option to mix it up a little bit more, they have some really good blizzards with lots of chocolate in them. He had some kind of crazy chocolate thing the other day that it was really good. I don't remember what it was called. Chocolate brownie, blow your brains out, something or other.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I had a bite of it, but peanut butter parfait, it's soft serve, but like I said, fudge sauce on it and peanuts. It's pretty good. But if I could choose, I would go to Korth Dairy, and I would get like Death by Chocolate or something like that. But I also like Tiger Tail, the orange and black one.
I never understood what that was. Is that like orange flavored?
Orange and licorice, black licorice.
Black licorice.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
Oh.
I've never had it, so I can't say. But this feels like a pineapple on pizza take.
That's what I was.
It seems a little risky.
It's not everybody's favorite, that's for sure.
It definitely sounds like you either love it or hate it.
Yeah. When I was a kid growing up in Peterborough, there was an ice cream place that we used to go to called Hamlin's, and they had great Tiger Tail and mint chocolate chip. It was either one of those two, but I'm kind of a chocolate ice cream guy now.
Yeah,
Chocolate's the safest. It's really hard to find bad chocolate ice cream.
Yeah. Chocolate with other kinds of chocolate mixed into it, and chocolate chunks and chocolate brownies with chocolate sauce.
Oh, what do you think about nuts in ice cream?
Yes.
Yes.
So it depends on the ice cream. I'm also weird. This might be the end of my podcasting career. I'm going to cancel over this, but I actually don't like chocolate ice cream.
Ooh, really?
I actually like.
But you like Hawaiian pizza.
There's the Hawaiian pizza take. Wow.
That's my Hawaiian pizza take, I guess.
You don't like chocolate ice cream and you don't like Hawaiian pizza.
I didn't used to like chocolate cake either, but I got over that.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that's just like too something. It's like too rich, I guess. Chocolate ice cream's not bad, but I don't know.
It can be.
It wouldn't be my first, second, or third choice.
I like it. It is rich, but it's.
I don't know. I guess I am weird for that. But so you said, you grew up in Peterborough,
Yep.
obviously. So have you ever been up to the Kawartha Creamery up there? Like the factory where they like make some of it?
I haven't been to it. Driven by there a few times. I know they have a factory, I think, in Lindsay, just outside Peterborough, and there's one in downtown Peterborough as well.
I thought they had one up near like Bob Cajun.
I think they have more than one, yeah. There's
'Cause
one in Peterborough, one in Lindsay that I know have been there for a long time, and I think they probably have other ones.
Because, I went up there once with my dad. We were going to our cottage, and you can buy ice cream there, obviously. Like, they have an ice cream shop out front. But they make, like, specialty flavors there that they don't sell in other places.
Nice.
If you're ever up there, you should check it out.
Experimental.
I had Dutch apple pie ice cream, which had bits of, like, dough and, like the apple filling that you have in apple pie, and something else. I don't
Probably
know.
cheese. Dutch people like cheese on their apple
It
pie.
might have been, like, a kind of like a cheese sort of, like, something in the ice cream. The best ice cream I've ever had.
Really?
It was amazing. I don't think I'm ever going to have better ice cream than that. And they
Wow.
only sold it, like, as far as I could tell, at that one store.
Huh.
So if anybody listening, or if you're ever in the area, sir, like, definitely check it out, because they sell unique stuff there that they don't sell other places.
Yeah. We were, my wife and I were in Vancouver last summer for a week, and we went to a gelato place there with 300 flavors of gelato.
Jeez.
All of them out there. You could walk around. Every wall of this thing had like the little freezers. It was incredible. There was two or three full freezer sections of chocolates. Everything was a different kind of chocolate.
I feel like I have to have ice cream now after that.
It's like my worst nightmare, the wall of chocolate ice cream. It's like a bad dream. I go to the ice cream shop and they only have chocolate. Yeah, you guys travel a lot, right? Like, I know camping is a minimum 2 camping trips a year, but also, going places. Well, it was just your wife and you in Vancouver?
This time, yeah, because with COVID, traveling was kind of limited, right, for the last couple of years. But we do enjoy traveling, and we've had the opportunity to travel a fair bit. We travel often in a manner that not many people do. It's called a home exchange.
Yeah, I was going to mention the home exchange because I think you had some stories about the home exchange as well, didn't you?
We've had a few good adventures there. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, well, for anybody who doesn't know what a home exchange is, maybe you should explain it.
It's pretty much what it sounds like. We exchange our home with somebody else in another country, and we stay at their place, and they stay at our place, and we usually trade vehicles as well. And so we've done that probably 8 or 9 different times in different places. And to me, it's the best way to travel. You're not stuck with the whole family in a little 12 by 12 hotel room and paying $200 or $300 a night for your hotel and eating in a restaurant every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And your next door neighbor is another Canadian or North American from somewhere that is just as lost as you are. When you home exchange, you've got the whole house, you've got your kitchen, you can cook meals at home and eat more normally. You can go out sometimes. We've had places with other amenities available to us, like saunas and stuff in the house, or they have their bikes available. We can go biking. We had a place in Amsterdam a couple years ago, right on the water. We could just walk out the front door and swim. And we've met people, the local people, not just other tourists, and you get to know the neighbors or other people in town. We usually spend enough time at these places that you get to know people. We spend 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time living in the location, so you're like one of the locals. I mean, the very, very first time we did it, we were in the south of France, and we were in a tiny town called Le Havre, which is outside Marseille. Marseille is the 3rd largest city in France, and it's huge, but about 10 or 15 minutes outside of town was a little town, kind of like Bradford would have been about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, little, like less than 10,000 people. And first day we were there, we unpacked into this house, went for a walk around, and there was a community center, and they were doing a big outdoor event for the people in town. It was free. You walk in, and they had music, and they had food, and they had dancing and all this kind of stuff, and games for the kids. And I went up to the bar to get a couple drinks, and they were like, "Who are you?" Because it's a small town. They knew I wasn't a local, and I speak French, so I was able to, communicate. And they're like, "Oh, welcome to our town. Here you go, free drinks for you and your family. You're part of the town now." And they took us in, and within half an hour, all the local kids were surrounding our kids and talking to them and taking them off to go play. And you just you're part of the community when you're at a home exchange.
I really like the image of Jack and your daughters just being surrounded by the neighborhood children.
And that image is exactly accurate, yeah.
They're just circled around them, like a little bit, enough distance that, it's safe.
That was quite a few years ago. When was that? Like at least 10 years ago. So cell phones were very different then, but I still remember the kids were opening their cell phones, they were little flip phones and stuff, right? And typing words out on their phones and showing them translations and stuff like that. There was no Google Translate, but they were typing the words that they knew and trying to use that to try and talk to each other. Because like I said, my daughters weren't very good at French, but I think Jack, he was 4 or 5 then, and it was even longer than I think, yeah. And he was able to understand better than his sisters, but yeah, we've done lots of trips like that. We went from that town in France for 3 weeks to another place in just outside Paris near the Palace of Versailles, and we had a beautiful home there. We could walk to the Versailles, and from the bedroom that my daughters shared, you could see the Eiffel Tower. And we spent 3 weeks traveling on that part of France, and we've been to Switzerland for a month near Geneva. And we went to Ireland for a month, followed by 2 weeks in Holland, and stayed in homes there, got to know the local people. It's been a great way to travel. We've done more local ones in Canada and Quebec City before a couple times. You just, and you have a website, you just post your interests and your house and your desires on the website, and people who are also on the website can communicate with you and say, hey, are you interested in coming here? We get invites all the time to go places all around the world, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I was about to ask about that, like the system you use for, that home exchange, because I'm sure some people might even be people you just know, but I think you described it to me, didn't you, that you would kind of start to talk to people a little bit.
Yep.
Like just start up a conversation, and then if they were interested in switching, you would just.
Yeah, so we had an invite just a couple weeks ago, for example, from Calgary. And these people wanted to come and visit this part of the country.
So I guess we're in like a decent spot for that sort of thing, because
Yep.
we're Toronto.
Yeah, I mean,
we're close enough to Toronto that it's not.
you kind of wonder sometimes, well, why would somebody from Paris want to come to Bradford?
Well, that's what I was thinking, right?
But
We're central and like South
Yeah.
Ontario, but even then.
I think no matter where you live, you kind of take for granted what your place has to offer. And so
What do we have to offer?
what we have to offer is something different than Paris. They live in a big city, in a big house in a crowded part of the city. We live in a small town, backing onto some green space with trees around and stuff like that. And it's very different than what they live. And they want to experience something different. But we're close enough that if they want to pop down to Toronto or Niagara Falls, or if they want to go up to, Algonquin Park in sort of semi-northern Ontario and experience the wilderness of Ontario, you might think that's kind of far away, but from our place to any of those compared to Paris, it's a lot closer. So people like coming here because of all the things that are within driving distance of our house, right? So
Yeah, that's I guess the one thing that Bradford has going for it is that it's so central that, if you want to go to Toronto, that's doable. If you want to go to Niagara Falls, that's not too hard.
Yep.
Like you said, the wilderness, Algonquin, even road trips far north to Ottawa or Sudbury are possible.
yep.
More than just what's nearby. When I went to Rome a couple years ago, I spent 1 week in a hotel in a very sort of touristy, busy part of Rome, and I did not enjoy it whatsoever. And then I went for the second week to this little town, on the mountains, pretty much what you described, where everyone knows each other. Mm-hmm. And I was like this weird outsider just staying with family, and it was such a cooler experience.
Yeah.
I got to actually meet and talk to people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's really easy, especially places in Europe and stuff, to become really commercialized, because everybody wants to go to Italy
It's
or
touristy,
to France,
right?
It's very touristy. Like Venice is infamous for that, right? Where they have a tourist season and then they don't. But there's a lot of other places you can go to where you're going to get a much more intimate and, I guess, memorable experience.
Yeah.
Speaking as somebody who has never been to any of these places.
For example, our last home exchange pre-COVID was in, like I said, Ireland and Holland, Amsterdam there. In Amsterdam, the neighbors in the house next door to us, we got to know them. And we were only there for 2 weeks for that trip, but we arranged with them one day. They were going to go to this beach. They said, we'll take you to this special beach that we know of. And we met them and had dinner and hung out with them at the beach. And these are people. And then we had them for dinner at our place, our house.
Yeah.
They had never actually had dinner in that house with the real people who lived there. They knew each other somewhat, but we kind of became closer friends with them almost in 2 weeks than the other people, and had them over for dinner, and we went out on a trip with them. And the place in Ireland, in just outside Dublin, before that, we got to know the parents of the couple whose house we were in, because they lived nearby. And 2 nights before we headed out of Ireland to Amsterdam, they had us over for dinner at their house, and they served us a big 4-course meal, and we spent the whole night talking with them about stuff just like family that you've known for years, And that doesn't happen when you're traveling and staying in a hotel or a motel or whatever, or even an Airbnb. But
That was pretty cool.
we went, again, when we were in Ireland, we had our home in Dublin for 4 weeks there. And Mr. Bebier and his family joined us. They had a house in a town just south of Dublin, and they did an exchange with this other family. They were there for 3 weeks. We were there for 4, and we ended up meeting up with them and traveling around Ireland for a few days together to some other locations around. But we always had that house to go back to as our home base, and they had their house. And they actually came up and stayed at the house in Dublin that we had for a couple of days. And yeah, so they've had that experience too.
Are there any other teachers who participate in this sort of like home sharing system that you know about?
Not that I know of, no. Not in this school.
I'm sure you must have told them all about it though.
Yeah, we think it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
some people aren't comfortable with having strangers come to their house or sleeping in some other person's house, but
I feel like I'd have to clean my house so thoroughly
Yeah,
before somebody came
you do.
over. I would be so worried about somebody
Yeah.
coming to my house and being like, "Oh, there's."
but when I hear people say, "Oh, I don't want to sleep in somebody else's house," I say, "Well, if you go to a hotel, who slept in that bed before you? And how many different people slept in that bed
That's
before you?"
true.
I feel like it would definitely be
Yeah.
somebody coming over to your house that would be like sleeping in somebody's house. At least to me, it doesn't bother me. But to
Yeah.
have somebody come over to my house, I feel like there'd be more to think about.
Yeah. Some people are just totally against it, but for the experiences that we've had and the way we've been able to travel and the time we've been able to travel, like cost-wise, for a 6-week trip to France, I paid for a flight there and a flight back, the same as I would have paid if I went for 1 week. And in between, I paid nothing for a hotel or car rental. That to me is really economical. And on top of that, all the bonuses, like I said, of meeting the people, getting to know the local community, and speaking the language, because you're not surrounded by North Americans or Canada and the U.S. You're surrounded by French-speaking people or whatever.
Yeah, it's good if you want to pick up the language while
Yeah.
you're there, or if you're going to that country because you speak that language.
That's why we chose France for our first couple of ones, and Switzerland. When we went there, we chose the French part of Switzerland to give me a chance and the family a chance to be immersed in the language for a bit.
I think I definitely want to try that at one point. That sounds really cool.
It's
So
awesome.
I'll go with you if you want, because that does sound like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
More
You have
important
to
than
have
that-
a house that you can exchange first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Give us 40 years to buy our own houses.
Yeah.
And then we'll be fine.
More important than that, though, I think the last question that we have is probably the hardest hitting question of all, right?
Of course.
It's a little touchy, so if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But we have to know your opinion. Do you think there's more wheels or doors on the planet?
Wheels or doors? I thought you might ask me that. Or doors? I think wheels.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's wheels.
You think it's wheels? Do you have any single proof that comes to mind when you? What makes you think wheels?
Well, I think cars first came to mind, and
Those do have 4 wheels.
they
But
have,
they also have 4 doors.
not all of them. A lot
that's
of small cars only have 2, or maybe 3. Do you count a hatchback as a door?
I don't want to get into the semantics of the
Nah,
word door.
yeah.
So sure, we'll just write it
Yeah.
open.
You sure? Okay, I guess so.
Person can go through it.
But then there's 8 wheels on the 2 carts in front of me, and there's 4 more on that chair and 5 more on my chair here, and there's no more than 2 doors. So I think wheels. Wheels.
Well, thank you for that answer.
Thank you. Yeah, wow.
Well, I guess that's all we've got time for now. Thank you for that. It was a nice little fireside chat, I think, with Mr. McLaughlin.
I would love an actual fireside chat around a campfire.
If we can get a campfire into the Comtech room,
We could,
make that
yeah,
happen.
we could either. I figure we either light the table on fire or we just drag the cart out to the wilderness.
That's a better. Well, that's what we
Either
did
way-
for the S.W.A.K episode. We had to bring it to the gravestone and.
Yeah,
How
that's
did you
true.
do that
We
one?
actually had to bring it all the way down Yonge Street to the ditch.
Well, he ended up surviving that after all.
Yeah.
He did.
Well, I guess he must, because
They found him with a big gray beard like a month later.
Yeah. He was crawling on his hands and knees. I did end up going back for him.
Okay.
Yeah,
just give him some water.
mild frostbite. It healed up. Yeah.
Yeah, just go inside, warm up, warm water in the hands. You're good.
Yeah.
Are there any closing thoughts that you wanted to give to anyone listening?
Hey, join us on all the podcasts because this is our first year ever doing a podcast, and there's a lot of people talking about it, and I think you should check it out whenever you get a chance.
Yeah. Thank you to all our loyal viewers who've watch to number 4. Again, sorry about the delays that we've been experiencing. We had some issues with our mics where they would spontaneously break for no discernible reason. So took us a couple weeks to sort out, but we are back, I hope. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Keep it up.
See ya.
Bye.